Good morning. So today's project, we're going to build a workbench in the woodworking shop for the Dillon press. So we have these bar stools we found actually free on the side of the road. We're looking to try to figure out what the height we need the workbench to be. So we'll set the bar stool up out here. We've kind of, looked at the press. It's comfortable, the keys here. See if I can get in here and show you. You want to be able to see what's going on down in here on the, in the core of the press. Make sure everything's working correctly. It wants to be comfortable to pull the handle. This seems to be about the right height. So we're going to go ahead and get you set up to watch us. We've got our tools out and we're going to start building a bench. So hold on, we will be right back. All right, so this is the corner we're going to be building our bench in. We're going to set our press up over on this side. This side will be, just for other stuff. And then we'll be building some wall cabinets up here in a future video. We will be putting a shelf under the bench for storage as well. So we know we want our bench about 38 inches high. So we're going to come over here in the corner and we're going to measure up 38 inches off the concrete. And we're going to make a mark. And in our case, if you can see from there, but 38 inches is right on that seam right there. So that's actually going to work to our advantage. We're not going to bother with a mark. We're going to go ahead and just put our 2x4 right against that seam. So the other thing we have to figure out is how long we want this bench. And a sheet of plywood is 8 feet long. So we could go the whole 8 feet. I'm just not sure it's necessary. I think we're probably going to go for about a 6-foot bench is what we're going to shoot for. Maybe we'll go 6'6". So what we're going to do, because we're going to go 6'6", we're actually going to cut our 2x4s 1.5 inches shy. So this 2x4 caps the end. This one down here, the 2x4 will go in between them. So we need to cut two 2x4s that are 6'4½". So we'll go ahead and cut those and we'll be right back. All right, so we've got our 2x4s cut. We did decide to go 6 feet after looking at it a little bit more, looking at the space, knowing that we're going to put something here that's about 20 inches wide. Leaves us with quite a bit of room for the press. You don't need a lot of room for the press. You need some cabinetry to hold all the stuff, but the actual working mechanism probably only takes about 2 feet. So because it's 6 feet, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 2x4s and we're going to just divide them out. So we could go 2 foot, 4 foot, and 6 foot. And we will probably end up breaking up a little more than that. So if we look at 6 feet as 70 inches, 72 inches, we're going to divide that up. Okay, so we want to go 18 inches, 36 inches, and so on. So we'll do a 17 1/4, X back, 35 1/4, and then because it's an odd layout, I'm actually just going to put my tape right there and go 18. I'm down a coffee this morning still, so I don't do the math that well. Sometimes it's better just to use your tape measure and move it down rather than it is to trust your math. If you do the math, lots of times I still like to double check it. So there's our layout. This will be the end towards the door. We'll put an X there. And we're going to go ahead and get some screws and we're going to screw this to the wall. We're going to find our 38 mark again. And we're going to put a little pencil mark right there so we know which seam we're on. Grab a 2x4 and get it in place. And even though we're following the V-match, we're still going to put a level on it just to double check it. You see that shows it has to come down a little bit. And then in our case, we have a garage door here to work with, so we can only come out as far as that garage door. All right, so we kind of want to go 24 inches here. We have to be a little creative over in this corner, but that's okay. So knowing that we're going to have a 2x4 front and back, and we're going to have a 3/4 inch fascia board on this, the framing wants to be 23 1/4. We need to remove 3 inches because of the plates. So we know that our 2x4s in the field want to be 20 1/4. And that's going to end up giving us 20 1/4 will be 23 1/4. And then when we put our 1x6 on, will be 24. So we're going to go cut 1, 2, 3, 4 of those and 1 23 1/4, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our pieces cut. We're going to start on the end and put this one on. And remember I said this one goes out past it. Just caps the end. I like to hold it, you know, I've got it wedged against my stomach, sitting on the wall. Gives me an opportunity to get my screws started here, where I don't have to hold it and hold the screws and the impact. Basically, we just kept the top flush. Now on these, we're going to do roughly the same thing, but we're going to toenail these. Now one of the things you could do is you could put this together on the floor like a wall and pick it up here and put it in place. Okay, so we have those all on. We're going to go ahead and put our front piece on, screw that together, and then we got to figure out legs and a bottom shelf. And you'll see that that didn't fit because I have a trim board over here that I have to cut. Right over here is a trim board that's going to set up against. So I have to cut the end of that off to account for that trim board. We're actually going to notch our shelf around the trim board. And there's a couple ways you could do that. You could measure it, or as you know from watching me in previous videos, I like to just hold things in place like that. See if you can see that. And I can just mark right down that trim board like that. Now when I go cut that off, that's going to fit right in place. And I didn't have to get the tape measure out. So now what I'm going to do is I want to attach this corner to the actual wall. So I'm going to put my level on there, find out where level is. I'm going to lift that up, put my screw in. So that gets the top half of our bench done. We do want to put a shelf underneath of it. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to put a 2x4 on the inside that goes down as a leg. And then the shelf is going to go on the inside of that. So what we want to do is we know that our shelf wants to be shorter to accommodate that. So one easy way to figure that out is just to come up here, hold your tape inside here, make a mark 1.5 inches right there, and that will be the leg. And then we can measure here, and we know that our bottom shelf wants to be 20 1/4. So we're going to write that number down so we don't forget it. And then from a length standpoint, I like to put two 2x4s together as a corner right here. So I have the same thing. I'm going to come 1.5 inches this way. And we know that our shelf wants to be 69 inches. So we're going to go cut some wood and we'll be right back. Okay, so on this one you saw us build it in place. On the bottom shelf, we're going to do it the other way we mentioned, is building it like a wall. So we know that this one wants to go flush on the outside, and the other two are going to go inside. We'll show you that in a minute. Grab some more screws. And we are using our favorite Torx headed screws. We really like these. They just work well. The drill doesn't slip. So we're going to measure this. Remember, it was 69, so half of that is 30, and half of 9 is 4.5. So 34.5 to the center of that one. We're going to check it from this direction to make sure we're right, and we are. We're going to go ahead and mark this one as well, and that's to the center. So we're going to go ahead and put that one in. And if you've got to hold your work, in place, if you start your screw first, you don't have to hold so many things at once. Now, when it comes to putting this in place, you have a couple options. If it's heavy, you could actually cut a couple blocks, put on the floor to hold it up. This one's not too bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it up here first, because we can see where our studs are. And we're going to go ahead and start some screws. And that way when we get it in place, we're not having to hold everything all at once. And we're just going to use one of those lines in the V-match. And then with our straight 2x4, we can pull up on it a little bit before we hook it. And then we're going to level this one, same way as we did before. What I like to do, get my level out here, and I can use my side to lift the bench up. See where level is. Now in my case it's 37 3/4. So we're going to make the legs 37, and that leaves us a little room to wiggle. So hold on, I'm going to go cut some stuff. We'll be right back. Okay, so we've cut some leg material, and what we're going to do is we're going to put these together in a way that fit inside the corner. So we're trying to find basically the side we want to see, because we're not going to cover these legs with anything else. You could even use, you could cut out some hardwood for this or anything. In this case, it is just a wood shop, so we're trying to just be a little conservative. So we're going to make that our good side, and then we need another one, and that's going to be our good side. So we're going to end up putting that together like that, and that's going to go right in the corner like that. So if you bear with me, I will go ahead and get that set up. What I like to do when I do that is take another piece of wood and put under here. And that keeps everything lined up for me while I go ahead and get my screws started. And I'll put my end in line with that board so I don't push down on it and tip it all over. I'll start on one end. I'm going to work my way down so I can line up the two boards. And that should fit right down in there like that. So then what we have to do is find our level. But before we do that, we're going to get a screw started so that we don't have to hold 5 things at once again. So we'll go over here so you can see us. And it is raining out, in case you can't tell. All right, so the framing is done. What we're going to do now is we're going to get Sue to help us. We're going to dig out a sheet of plywood. We're going to cut a piece of birch plywood for the top of this. And then we may or may not pull the planer out, or we may use pine. I haven't decided. I want to wrap this with something. I have some pine 1x6, and that's probably what I'll use because I have it. I do have a bunch of maple, but it'd have to be planed. The bottom shelf, I'm still undecided if I'm going to do plywood or if I'm going to plane out some maple and just make a hardwood shelf down there. I may plane out the maple because there's no hurry on that one. So hold on while we get Sue, get her to help us cut this sheet of plywood. We'll be right back.
Okay, so what we've done is we've put down our birch plywood. We're laying it out now so that the screws are symmetrical around the edges and in the field. Trying to keep it uniform looking. You know, you could drill, countersink the screws and then plug the holes, but this is just a workshop. So we're just basically coming in an equal distance all the way around and then centering the screws in the middle. Doing the same in the middle where the boards, you know, the 2x4s go in the field. I guess you call them floor stringers almost under the bench. But that's what we're doing now. Getting those in, laying it out. We're going to go ahead and put a couple screws in. We'll pre-drill the holes around the edges just so that they don't chip out. So and here we go. We're going to put the screws in the middle so the sheet doesn't move. And then we'll be going to get the drill to finish the rest. So hang on one second, we'll get the drill.
Alright, so we got our nail gun. We got our pine up at the miter station. So we're going to cut the first piece. We're going to measure to the short point of the 45. And it is 70 and 15 sixteenths to the short point of the 45. So we'll be right back with that. There, that is perfect. So we're going to set our square right here to know that we're at the right height. We want to pick it up until we just see the square move a little bit like that. We're going to put a tack in it right there. Chase that down, just like that. You can probably feel it with your finger too. You can kind of feel it with your finger and make sure you're happy with it. Okay, so the leftover piece from the front, it's long enough to do the side. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can measure it. You can put it up there and mark it. But in this case, we know we want 24 inches to the long point. So we're going to go ahead and measure from our long point. We're going to go over to our miter box and we're going to cut that 24 inches. Hold on, we'll be right back. All right, so that finishes the top. We're going to sand this corner off a little rounded, just so we don't catch on it. And I think we're going to come back later and plane out some maple for that shelf down in there. We have it laying around. We don't have a lot of extra plywood, so this sort of makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up. We'll come back and show you when we've got it all sanded, polyed, and we've got the press in place, and we've got our maple down there. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.